Look at it.
What's up, nation? Welcome to another edition of the NFL DFS Wide Stream. I'm your host, Patio Joe, and I'm joined here tonight once again by my man, Mr. Paulie D. One of the few shows we got left. Paulie, what's going on?
What's happening, man? This might be the last one. I mean, after this is what, 2 games, then the bowl, right?
Yeah, there's like 7 games left of the season. So if CK says he wants to come on and do something for the next week, for the championship round, we can. But this might be the last time we see each other on a show for a while. How last week was a total massacre for me. I was just absolutely crushed. I had terrible lineups, but the games were good. I thought for the most part you nailed that the game flow on the Buffalo game. You were on that. I think that the Cincinnati Raiders game kind of went as I expected. The Raiders kept it close. Cincinnati won that game. The Dallas Niners game was a good game. I think that it's funny, like people give the Dallas Cowboys the moniker of the Chargers of the NFC. Like they just find a way to lose games.
They do,
and it's kind of true how that is. And so basically tonight I am sitting here in a different room. I am in my daughter's room because I am in isolation because on Monday I tested positive for COVID, and I am currently on the COVID-19 list. So I have been locked up in this room since Monday, and I am until Saturday morning. Hopefully I test negative and I can rejoin my family because my wife is slowly going crazy. It hasn't been all bad. I've been able to catch up on television. I was able to watch the playoff game on Monday night totally, in silence, no interruptions, it doesn't happen that often. So, but I'm feeling fine. It's basically a cold to me. I maybe felt kind of sick really like one of the nights, but nothing bad. Like let me put it this way, Paulie, like if it wasn't, like if we weren't in what we call a pandemic and we were supposed to be being tested for this, I would just think like I have a basic cold and be going on with my life. Like it, but such is life. We don't want to pass this around and such. So that being said, we're going to go a little game by game. We have 4 games this slate. And just start it off and then just go down the list, maybe point out some plays, maybe kind of how we think the games are going to go. And that's about it. We're going to get on out of here. So, Paulie, let's start off with the first game of the weekend. We got the Cincinnati Bengals, Mr. Burrow, traveling just a short trip to Tennessee to face the Tennessee Titans, and Derrick Henry returning. They are a 3.5-point favorites, the Tennessee Titans, and the point total is at 47 right now. Paulie, my first question to you that I'm wondering is, how much do you think Derrick Henry is going to be deployed in this game?
A lot, like 80% of the snaps on offense kind of deal. Like I think he was like capable of playing the last week of the regular season if he needed to, but they didn't. Like, it would have been nice to get the bye. It was a game that, they could have won without him and they didn't play him. And now it's 2 weeks later. I think he's going to play a lot because I think they're going to need him. I think this is either going to be a close game or Cincinnati dominated game. So I envision Henry playing a lot.
Yeah. I mean, on FanDuel, his price is $9K. Do you think it's worth that price this week? Because if you were watching the Bengals game last week, what I noticed as the game went on, they kept losing players on their defense.
Mm-hmm.
Like the Raiders, if that game would have went on longer, the Raiders were going to come back and win. Like they lost like a couple pieces on defense, and they just kept going out and stuff. For instance, Jalen Daniels, Mike Hilton, Sam Hubbard, but they all practiced. They were out part of the games. I know that they lost one of their other good defensive players that are completely out. So basically, I think it's going to be Derrick Henry's show. If you think it's going to be like all wheels up, because I don't know if Tennessee wants to get in a shootout with Cincinnati, because Cincinnati's going to try and throw. They're not going to be able to run on Tennessee, but you can throw on Tennessee.
Agreed.
So what? Yeah.
Agreed.
Yeah.
Yeah,
so
I agree.
I think that obviously this is a Jamar Chase week. I think if you're playing tournaments, T. Higgins is a great play because he absolutely dudded last week with one catch for like 7 yards or something. And like we've seen the ceiling in some of the games. And they might try and do everything it takes to shut down Jamar Chase this week. So I think that, don't be afraid, especially in these short slates. You can't be, to go back. They lowered his price, and I don't mind T. Higgins too. Who do you think wins this game, Paulie?
Cincy.
Do you think it's going to be pretty convincing, or think it's going to be an ugly win?
I could see either. The only outcome I really don't see is Tennessee blowing Cincy out. Like I could see either team winning a really close 3-point game. 28-27 kind of score, something like that. Mm-hmm. I wouldn't be shocked if, Tennessee rusty, Derrick Henry rusty, like they come out slow and Cincinnati just kind of gets out to a lead and doesn't look back and they win 31-17, something like that. But I think Cincinnati wins. I think you just follow the quarterbacks for the most part in the playoffs. And if Derrick Henry was healthy and dominant, maybe it'd be a different story, but he hasn't played in 10 weeks and, there's no way he's going to be in great shape and sharp, making all the great reads, catching every ball thrown his way. So I just think that Tennessee's going to have to play almost a perfect game to win here. I think AJ Brown's actually a better play than Derrick Henry, especially in that trailing kind of game script. So I do like both quarterbacks though, especially on a Saturday slate where you only have this in the San Fran game. I don't mind builds with Tannehill and AJ Brown and Julio Jones. And I like the Cincinnati passing game. I plan to play the 4-game slate, the Saturday, Sunday ones. And I still think price wise, these are some of your better option quarterbacks for what you want. There's a couple guys that I feel you really want on the slate. And to get them, you got to sacrifice at some spots. So quarterback is one where I think you can. I don't think the separation is going to be that wide, except for potentially the guys in that last game, the Buffalo KC. That game could go to the moon, but I'm not convinced that it will.
Yeah, I mean, I see this game as I want to pick the Bengals, and I think of the last time that we saw Tennessee, we saw them hanging on against Houston. Mm-hmm. So, and that seems like an eon ago. And I'm just not sure. To me, I like Tannehill in this game because he offers a little bit of rushing. He'll run the ball a little bit too. So I don't mind it at all. I think Tennessee's going to win this game in a close way. I just it's going to be an ugly game. They're going to slow down Cincinnati enough, force them. They're going to just play that Tennessee game There's so many games where I'm watching and you're Tennessee should be getting killed, but somehow they're only down by 10 at half. And then they get the ball, they score a touchdown. Before you know it, it's a 3-point game, and then they kick 2-3 field goals, and they win the game by 3. That's Tennessee's MO. Yep. And that's how I think this game's going to go. And Tennessee just wins an ugly game on the back of Henry and Tannehill. I like what you say about A.J. Brown, too. On the Bengals side, definitely like Burrow and Chase, but don't forget to go back to Higgins. You can't, especially you got to be able to on a 4-game slate and even a 2-game slate on the short one. So I got Tennessee winning in a close, very close, just ugly game to start off this week. Moving on to the Saturday night main event, we got Jimmy Garoppolo, Deebo Samuel traveling to Green Bay, where I'm sure it's going to be cold. I haven't really checked the weather, but I can't imagine it being sunny.
It's going to be cold. And it's late. It's an 8:15 p.m. start.
Yeah, 8:15 in Green Bay. I mean, it's got to be at least like 5 degrees or something. Anyways, it's right now Green Bay is a 6-point favorite, 47, and went down a half a point. I think no matter what, like my first inclination is that I'd take San Francisco in the points. I think that 6 points is just too much, right now, the way that San Francisco is playing. So but the way I see this game coming out is San Francisco is going to have to be able to run the ball with Eli Mitchell. Like, I like Eli Mitchell, probably my one and dones. He's probably one of my favorite plays. Deebo, I used him last week, but Deebo's in a great spot. You got to be able to go back to Kittle in a short slate, even though he busted. They're going to go out there and just kind of do what they do. And Green Bay, obviously, Rodgers is going to will them to win this game, but I don't think it's going to be by more than 6 points. I like the two-headed attack of Aaron Jones and A.J. Dillon to just wear them down. I don't think that Green Bay is going to make the mistakes that Dallas made, because Dallas still had a chance to win that game, even though San Francisco felt like they dominated the game the entire way to me. But Jimmy G misses Ayuk or Deebo, he had him just wide open on that one play and just totally missed him. And then he threw an interception in the next. You can't do that on the road in Green Bay and expect to win that game, especially against Rodgers. Rodgers is, I want to say, I don't know if Rodgers has beaten the Niners in the playoffs. Is that true? I think that might be true. I might be wrong.
I think he's beaten them.
I think the Niners beat them to go to the Super Bowl, though.
They did that year with Tanner. What's his name?
In San Francisco.
Yeah, the baggy running back there. Quarterback.
So, but I think, Devontae Adams, Rodgers, just those, the obvious plays. The matchup is just ridiculous for Adams this week. He's going to be going up against just they're a pass funnel defense, they're the number one, EPA rush defense, so they can stop the rush. But Rodgers is just, I think he's just going to carve them up on the pass. That's what I got. I think that's what's going to happen. But because the way that, San Francisco plays, they're going to be able to just slow it down again. Going to run the ball with Eli Mitchell and Deebo and this and that and stuff. I got Green Bay winning this game. What about you?
I got Green Bay winning. I actually think that they'll cover. I think they'll win by, convincingly. Like, they're just a well-oiled machine at home where, they play well. I think the pass game, does what it wants. I think Alan Lazard is really interesting way to get contrarian. Seems to be really in tune with Rodgers right now, and Scantling and Randall Cobb are dealing with injuries, and if San Francisco's smart, they'll double or triple Devontae. So I think you got Lazard with an opportunity to do well, and he really doesn't have to do that much to pay off his price. I think you can look at the Green Bay running backs too on the 4-game slate. It's, I think AJ Dillon at 5-1, like could literally rush for a touchdown and like 20 yards and be decent. And Aaron Jones, I think, is like that low-owned, like upside guy that could have 2 or 3 touchdowns, like 2 through the air if they score, that many points. So, those guys are kind of interesting. But yeah, Rodgers to Adams, and Lazard are like my favorite ways to build Green Bay builds. San Francisco, I'm not that into their running back Mitchell. Like, I think with Green Bay playing from the lead, they're going to be forced to throw more, and I think this is a better like George Kittle spot. I think he bounces back. Devo is just incredible. I think he's going to be pretty popular though. Like, he's fine if you can fit him, but there's just other studs that I want. If I'm going up to that range, like I'm going to find the extra money for Devontae Adams and builds. I don't think I end up with too much San Francisco outside of Kittle, who I think does have a really good game, and at 5-3 on DraftKings, very, very affordable.
Yeah, I mean, Kittle also had a decent game against them earlier in the year. In week 3, he had 9 targets. So, definitely something to look at this week. But you got Green Bay winning this game and covering. All right. Yeah. Now let's move on to the Sunday slate, which is, I think the Sunday games are just a little bit better than the Saturday games.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, the nightcap is good. The league did not do any favors to the Rams, having them play a Monday night game and then having to travel to the East Coast to play an early Sunday game to face Tom Brady and the Bucs. Here's what it comes down to me. I think the Rams win this game because Tristan Wirfs is gonna be at less than 100% if he plays at all. On top of the center being hurt too, I think that this is the Rams' time to upset Tom Brady and the Bucs on the road. I think that I watched the Bucs play this week, and they were good. They didn't shock me against the Eagles. I think that the Rams, coming off of a decent game against the Cardinals, the defense playing really well. I just think the Rams win this game and move on to play the Packers. Me and CK were talking pre-show that we wish that we would have known that Cam Akers was going to get such a role in this game. I mean, the first carry of the game, Paulie, Michelle goes for 35 yards. You're thinking, okay, Michelle's just going to run all over him. And then Akers comes in, and Akers did well, but then they just stuck with him. And they didn't really go back to Michelle. He got that one touchdown, but that was it. I think they're going to try and run the ball with Akers and stuff. They're going to be able to pass Odell, Hupp, and Van Jefferson. I just like that combination. It's basically going to be Brady with Gronk and
Mike Evans.
With Mike Evans. So I think that the Rams win this game. What do you think, Paulie?
Yeah, I think the Rams win this game too. The Bucs are beat up, and the Rams, like, they, planned for this. They went out and got veterans that are going to make plays and lead them to victory here. And like, they're just, health-wise, they have a better team right now than Tampa, and I expect them to win even against the traveling and the negative schedule. But I think they come in, Stafford leads the offense. They put up points. And I think Tampa Bay struggles to put up points against the Rams' solid D. I think you see guys like, what's the DN they got from the Broncos?
Von Miller.
Yeah, Von Miller got a sack last week. I think he makes a couple plays. Aaron Donald, I think the Rams, win this game kind of convincingly. And it's really the pass game. I don't attack the Bucs with the ground, so I'm not really that into Michelle or Akers. Akers, like, he did have a decent enough role in the 2 targets. 17 carries, but he looked electric. Like if they're struggling, I could see them doing some checking down to Akers, but it's really like I want Cup, I want Odell, and I'll have some Stafford. But I do expect the Rams to win, and I really like the Rams defense for defenses. They're 3K, and I think they get a bunch of sacks and some picks against Brady.
Yeah, and I think Akers' price, I think that's what makes him more attractive than the actual matchup.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody knows you don't run into Tampa, but like his price on FanDuel is 5,700, and I think on DK it's like really
5-3. Yep.
Yeah. So when you're trying to do your builds and you're trying to find, because the running backs are pretty slim this week.
Yeah.
So it's kind of, I think he's going to be pretty popular, to be honest with you, in most builds.
And then
So, all right. So we're pretty much right on every two. We kind of think,
same.
Going to win. Let's move to the main event. The game I think everybody wants to see. The game that Stephon Diggs stayed out on the field for last year and watched them celebrate. He's been wanting to get back to this. I think it was one round earlier than they thought, but we got, once again, Josh Allen strolling into Kansas City off of a perfect game, basically, the offense. They are 1.5-point underdogs, and the line is up to 54.5. Paulie, who do you got? How do you see this game going? Tell me what you got, and I'll let you know.
This one's really hard to pick. Both teams playing real well. I mean, you saw the Chiefs get out to a slow start and then absolutely explode against the Steelers last week. I think with like 10 minutes to go in the third quarter, Mahomes had like 5 touchdowns and 400 yards. After like really having a really shitty first quarter. So like, a quarter and a half between the second and the beginning of the third, they just went bananas. And Buffalo, as predicted, just smoked New England. But like New England wasn't good. I don't think that win is as dominant as people are taking it. Buffalo won the regular season matchup, but that was, a totally different time. I think the Chiefs eke out a win. Very high scoring, back and forth game, but just a little bit more talent on the Chiefs. Like, I think Josh Allen is awesome. I think he's ridiculously talented, but I think Mahomes is slightly better. I think they got the tight end advantage. I think they have the wide receivers advantage. I do think the Bills have a slightly better defense overall, but the Chiefs defense has actually been playing really well of late. And I think they'll make less mistakes and find a way to win that game. But very close, and I wouldn't be shocked at all to see the other way. And I think I'm kind of actually rooting for Buffalo. But I really don't care who wins. But I think a part of me wants to see Buffalo win. Josh Allen, win.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm gonna take the Bills to win this game, and I just think that you almost felt like the regular season they almost coasted through, and then they just hit like a button on Saturday, and they just came out there, and to the Patriots it seemed like it was 5 below, but to the Bills it felt like it was 80 degrees and sunny. It was crazy. I think that this game is going to be back and forth. I think this is going to be everything we want. I think that Allen is going to have to do it with his arms and legs. He's going to have to be the man and outperform Mahomes even more than he did last week to win this game. Where I think Kansas City threw a curveball to everybody last week was all of a sudden Jerick.
Oh, yeah, Jerick McKinnon. And definitely go back to that at his cheap prices. Like, they're going to continue to use him.
I think that they saw that he's just a little bit more
explosive.
Yeah, electric, faster than Williams.
Yep.
And then Williams fumbled, and that was all over. I mean, I think this is the Stephon Diggs week. He was kind of quiet last week. You saw what I saw the Bills unleash a little bit was Isaiah McKenzie. his snap share was more than Cole Beasley this last week. So they're trying to do a little bit more hybrid stuff. You saw the offense kind of run a little bit different than they ran during the season. I think Singletary will be very popular, just a choice to have, because there's not very many like sure running backs. You know he's going to get some carries, and if they get down, he'll be the guy that will be getting the dump offs and stuff. So I just think that this is the Bills' time to upset the Chiefs. The Chiefs came out a little lackluster, and if they do that again, the Bills, I don't think Bills will not let that like kind of go down, you know. So obviously, I agree. Like, definitely, it could go either way. I mean, Mahomes is Mahomes, Tyreek Hill, Kelsey. You know, you've been seeing Pringle get involved more. Demarcus Robinson, Hardman. You know, they got a lot of weapons that they can go to. But that being said, I'm going to go with the Bills to win a game, a very close game, and eke out. So then it would set up the Bills going to Tennessee, and it would be the Rams going to Green Bay. That'd be a nice thing. But you all know you have Cincinnati. Actually.
Yeah, I have Cincinnati versus Kansas City in the rematch, and same Rams versus Packers.
It'd be, you know, the one thing I've say for that matchup with KC and Cincinnati, it has been in the NFL's MO where you'll have a late season matchup between two good teams and they'll put up like this amazing game, then they somehow meet again in the playoffs. So that could happen. You never know. So, anyways, any final thoughts, Paulie?
You know, DFS wise, definitely take shots on, you know, like you mentioned, Isaiah McKenzie. I love Jerick McKinnon. I'm gonna have a lot of him. You know, I think you play Cooper Kupp and a Bengals pass catcher. You know, I'm cool with either one of, you know, T. Higgins or stud, what's his name? Jamar Chase, you know. But I think the Bengals and also Devontae Adams, you know, like if you can get him in there too, and like stars and scrubs. Like I built the lineup on FanDuel where like I had like a lot of the studs that you would want, and I just had to pay down at quarterback for Tannehill and punt at running back for Juszczyk on San Francisco, who, you know, could get a touchdown, you know, like could get a couple of receptions. And then I had like Devontae Adams and Jamar Chase and Kittle, like all the guys I wanted in my lineup. So, you know, take some shots on some cheap punts that the field isn't really on yet, because sometimes coaches just deploy a guy that we're not expecting, like Jerick McKinnon, although I was pissed I should have seen that coming based on the prior game. You know, your Byron Pringles of the world, Gabe Davis, like take shots on those guys if it helps you fit into a nice stars and scrubs build, which I think is the way to go this weekend.
Yeah, because like in these short slates, the lineups aren't supposed to look pretty. If they look pretty, you're probably doing it wrong.
Correct.
You know, so that being said, guys, enjoy what they say is the best week of football. They have the final 8 teams duking it out to go to the conference championship game. So for maybe one of the last times of the year, I am Patio Joe. That's Paulie D. And as our man, CK, says in the back.